Hey everyone, how are you guys doing? So I'm back with another video, and in this video I want to discuss with you on the concept of proof of funds for Alberta PNP. So I've been getting many questions on proof of funds, and I thought making a precise video on this would be helpful for you guys. So remember, this video is only from a proof of funds perspective. I have videos on other aspects of the application, so you can always look into that and understand the other aspects of your application. So let's go through this. So to understand proof of funds requirement for Alberta PNP, we have to discuss it in relation with each of its streams. So there is no one size fits all kind of a rule. So Alberta PNP or Aaip has 4 stream for workers. So let's see how many stream for workers they have. They have Alberta Opportunity Stream, they have Alberta Express Entry, Alberta General Express Entry, very popular Alberta Tech Pathway, and the Rural Renewal Scheme. Now, proof of funds has to be discussed in light of each of these streams. We cannot discuss it without keeping stream into the discussion. So let's go through it. Let's first go through AOS. In AOS, first thing, there is no specific conditions. There is no specific requirement for a AIP perspective. If you are trying to apply under AOS, there is no separate proof of funds requirement. But this should follow the federal proof of funds requirement. So if we look into the federal proof of funds requirement, we will see what are the requirements there, and those requirements have to be met here. So let's quickly go to the federal proof of funds requirements. So here, so this is the landing page of the proof of funds for the express entry. I'll put a link of this to the description. So see here, who needs proof of funds and who doesn't need proof of funds. So this is a very important aspect and very important question that many applicants have, that whether I need a proof of funds for AOS. So for AOS, you don't fall under this category. You don't qualify under, because AOS is not express entry program. So you don't fall under the who needs proof of funds requirement, right? So you don't have, you are not a FSW or a FSTP, okay? But if you are working in AOS, if you are eligible for AOS, then in most probability you are authorized to work in Canada. So if you are authorized to work in Canada, you can do without proof of funds. Understand this, you don't need to show that you have enough money. This is the only requirement, but still you have to provide your bank account statement as a proof. So don't think that this is kind of that you don't need to provide any document on proof of funds. You just don't need to show that you have enough money, right? So the federal rules has a dollar amount on each of the family members. Based on the number of family members, you need to meet this proof of funds requirement. But if you are authorized to work in Canada, and which is kind of where your AOS will lead you to, then you don't need to meet the proof of funds. So I hope AOS is clear. So we discussed on the AOS part. So the AOS, we are now clear whether what are the requirements as far as the proof of funds is concerned. Next we will discuss the Alberta General Express Entry, and in the same breath we will discuss Alberta Tech Pathway. Both operate under the Express Entry umbrella, and yes, you need to meet the same proof of funds requirement as Express Entry. So when you create your Express Entry profile, and if you are under any of these streams, then the same proof of funds requirement will apply to you. So for example, if you are applying under, say, Alberta General Express Entry or Alberta Tech Pathway, let's go back to the proof of funds detail. Okay, so if you are applying under Alberta Tech Pathway or under Alberta General Express Entry, and you fall under one of these categories, Federal Skilled Worker Program and Federal Skilled Trades Program, then you need to provide your proof of funds. Plus, if you are applying under a Canadian Experience class, then you don't need proof of funds, right? So this rule will again apply to Alberta General Express Entry and Alberta Tech Pathway. Okay, so that is now, I hope, is clear to you. And again, if you need to meet these requirements, you need to meet these dollar values. Okay, let's go back. So we discussed Alberta General Express Entry and Alberta Tech Pathway. that you need to meet the same proof of funds requirement as the express entry. Next comes the last stream but not least, the rural renewal scheme. So for the rural renewal scheme, out of all the 4 streams in Alberta, rural renewal stream is the only stream which has its own proof of funds requirement. Okay, it is different from federal, and it is also dependent on number of family members. So we need to understand this, that rural renewal scheme is the only scheme in Aaip which has a proof of funds requirement. So let's see that too. Yeah. So let's look into the proof of funds requirement for rural renewal scheme. Here they call it settlement funds requirement. So when you submit your application and when your application is being processed, you need to demonstrate that you have sufficient proof of funds. Right? So this proof of funds is here. So it will depend on the size of the community and the number of family members. So this is the table that you need to follow, and this is applicable for people who are not residing in Canada or who are in Canada but who are currently not working. So this again comes very close to the federal proof of funds requirement, but this assessment is required. So for example, if you are applying under Canadian experience class, I'm just taking an example, right? So in the federal rule, you qualify under Canadian experience class, so you don't need to provide any proof of funds. But the rural renewal scheme operates outside the express entry umbrella. So for rural renewal scheme, they will just need to check whether you are residing in Canada or you are working in Canada. So if you are not residing in Canada, you need to provide this proof of funds, and if you are already in Canada but not working, you still need to provide these proof of funds. So this will and the dollar value of the funds will depend on the size of the community. This is the size of the community and the number of family members. So these two, so this is the only stream in Alberta immigration program which has its own set of proof of funds requirement, which is called the settlement funds requirement. So I hope I was able to explain the proof of funds requirements for Alberta immigration program. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Put your questions in the comment and I'll be more than happy to help. So I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.